Hey, this is David Campbell, the Godfather, and you're watching a 222 Productions review.
Thank you, Mr. Campbell. Hello, my name is William from 222 Productions, and I am here to talk to you about American Ninja Warrior Season 12 Qualifier number 3 in approximately 30 minutes or less, starting right now. So, this was a weird episode just because of one particular obstacle. And if you saw the episode, you know exactly which one I'm referring to. But it was overall a very strong episode too. I really enjoyed watching this one. I think I would go on to say that this overall might be my favorite so far. You know, we're still early. Well, I say early, but like it's only an 8-episode season, so you know, we're already in the second quarter of the season. But I'm thinking that this might be the most, I guess, hooked on an episode I've been this season so far. Most enthralled, most attention grabbing. We're gonna go over the obstacles. Some interesting choices in terms of what stayed, I will say. Of course, we start with the shrinking steps, and then they kept the Lunatic Ledges, which, like I said last week, wouldn't have been my first pick for an obstacle to bring back. I'm not a fan of it. This episode, we had some people smashing their heads, and I guess, you know, we just got to get this out of the way right away. So many people end up failing the obstacle. It was by far statistically the ninja killer of the night because 14 people failed it. No other obstacle had double-digit failures for comparison. So what was also bizarre is that, like, I don't know what made this Lunatic Ledges like seemingly more difficult in this episode than the previous, because maybe it was just me. It seemed like people were losing their momentum more easily on the second swinging ledge. Maybe I don't know. Maybe I that's just my imagination, but I didn't notice anything different. So I don't understand why there was more difficulty with that obstacle. So yeah. I hope it doesn't return. I don't want 3 of the 4 qualifiers to have the Lunatic Ledges in it. And then we have the Beehive, which I really like, despite it not being super, I guess, deadly. But then again, you know, a lot of people are taken by the ledges. It's a new version of the wing nuts, but instead it's in these honeycomb wheels. And what's really cool is that the middle one just swings 200, like it rotates 270 degrees, which I really like. I think that's a unique spin on the idea. No pun intended. That actually was not intended. And then the return of the spinning bridge, aka the cannonball. If you don't know what I'm referring to, too bad. Always like the spinning bridge or the cannonball. And then we have the Ferris wheel once again in this episode, and the warped walls, of course. Started things off with Booty Cothran, and I thought this could go either way because in the past they edited him in to be the first run and he cleared the course. So he could do well, he could not do well. I did find it funny how they talked about how he benefited from selling his trees to be made into toilet paper. I thought that was, a very 2020 appropriate story to tell. But I was shocked to see him on the Lunatic Ledges. And I will say, Matt Eisman, the professional comedian, had the perfect joke. Literally, the commentary peaked with the first run, as Matt Eisman said that Booty was flushed on number 2. Oh man, that was great. I will say one thing that made me laugh hysterically with Booty's run is that on the sidelines they had cardboard cutouts of the Booty bandwagon, like on a cart, and it was so ridiculous in a great way that I was laughing so hard. I loved it. We We need to make Ninja Warrior goofy again. Make Ninja fun. That's what we gotta do. Remember, Ninja Warrior, at least on television, is not a sport. It is a television show. And the goofier we can make things, the better. We need to keep Ninja fun. And that is the kind of stuff that I need. The next person that they showed, I'm not going through everyone, just to let you know. I never do that for the early episodes. Devin Harrelson. I actually remember hearing about this, about his gym getting destroyed. That just sucks, unfortunately. I'm glad that it seems like he's doing better now. They mentioned that he never got a buzzer, and I'm thinking, well, that can go one of either ways. Either he's going to get the buzzer, or he's going to fail again. So I guess it doesn't really spoil anything, because they've said that's a statistical accuracy, a statistical fact. So I don't have any problems with that. But unfortunately, he failed the transfer of the Ferris wheel, and he is eliminated, and that made me sad, because I like Mr. Dougie Fresh, but didn't work out. We're going to... There was a few runs that I felt like maybe... I'm trying to think. Maybe not. I will say that the Whitney Sigler, just want to go through really quickly, that felt like a completely, just filler run. She's, happy to be there, and then, just almost fails the shrinking steps, and then fails the Lunatic Ledges. That was bizarre. I will say, the editing for the women was weird this episode. Some of the editing was weird, because 2 of the 3 women who moved on to the next round didn't get featured. They were fast forwarded. So of all the women that they showed in full runs, which was only a couple, to be honest, we only got to see 1 who moved on, which I thought that was a weird choice. I feel like they should have... I don't know. You could have swapped out... I feel like you could have swapped out Whitley with Rachel Goldstein, who failed the 3rd obstacle, or Zanique Levette, who failed the 4th obstacle and still moved on. I feel like, you could have done that just for, showcasing the people moving on sort of thing. But I will say, speaking of keeping things fun, Sem Garay, the professional wrestler Sensei, having his manager give him an amazing intro, that is the kind of stuff that I am talking about. You gotta keep Ninja fun. It was so good, that intro. He's a great personality, and he's a pretty good ninja too. Although, I will criticize him for one thing. He spent way too much time in between obstacles. And I criticize ninjas for this every single year. In between the obstacles, he was doing stuff like flossing and flexing and talking to the commentators. I don't like that, because, like I said many times before, even though the qualifiers and all the regionals and all that stuff, they are technically not they don't have a time limit. They are still timed courses. And this season, it's even more important, because there is no win and you're in rule like we saw last episode. Although I will get to that as soon as I'm done with this run. So seeing Sem spend a lot of showboating in between obstacles, I didn't like that. I know you're a professional wrestler. I know playing a crowd is your thing, but I wasn't a fan of it. What I was a fan of was his manager. You can clearly hear him from his webcam cheering him on. I thought that was very entertaining. His manager's great. I will say this, from the little that I've seen, just from Ninja Warrior stuff, his manager has a great talking voice and a great presence about him. I gotta actually look up some of Sensei's actual wrestling and see if it's anything that I would like, because I'm a big wrestling fan, and honestly, anything that would distract me from the recent retribution crap that WWE is peddling is a welcome inclusion to my wrestling diet, quite frankly. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, don't worry. You're not missing anything good. That's for sure. But as I was saying about the showboating stuff, unfortunately, he failed the Ferris wheel. He couldn't hold on during the second drop, and he looked like he wasted a lot of energy trying to get the wheels to turn like a little earlier. But he went down on the second drop, and he was not fast enough to move on to the next round. The cutoff was the Ferris wheels, but he didn't get there fast enough, and that is what I'm talking about when I say you got to remember it's still a timed course. There is no time limit, but it's still timed. Always remember that, people. Whether you're competing in American Ninja Warrior or a local ninja event, just because there isn't a time limit doesn't mean time doesn't matter. And speaking of, like I was saying about time mattering, some quick information that I was told about last week, because we mentioned last week about how Nick Hansen didn't move on despite clearing the mega wall, and how I felt like if you clear the mega wall, that should be an automatic move on. And it turns out that he actually did move on, and I believe this was actually a rule anyway, from what I was told, by a very reliable source, let's just say someone with first-hand experience. So I was told that that Nick actually did move on. However, he had to be removed from the season after he got in contact with someone who tested positive for COVID. So unfortunately, so going to the mega wall does lock you in, but because he unfortunately came into contact with someone who later tested positive, he got sent home, which sucks, but they're trying to keep people safe in this very this was filmed in July, so it's still a shaky environment still. So I understand. The good news is he still got $10,000, which is more money than most of the people who competed on the show. So good for him. But speaking of clearing, so good to see my boy Thomas Stillings back on the show, and they did a featurette on his wife, who I've known about this since it happened at the beginning of this year. We had Thomas is a good dude. Just seeing all the work he did in the National Ninja League this year with the World Championship, you can see how dedicated he is to ninja in general, and he cleared this course, and he looked really good doing it. He ended up finishing third. He was so close to getting to the Power Tower, but so glad to see him clear. He didn't. So this next person didn't move on, Kyle Wheeler, but I really like his story about how about the whole losing weight and using ninja to get in shape and all that, because it strikes a little too close to home. And but I appreciate that story. It's very simple, it's very relatable, and it's a very ninja appropriate story. And I would not mind more stories like that, quite frankly. But yes, even though he didn't move on, good on you, Kyle. I appreciate you. And also Taige Harrison, who is a 12-year-old masquerading as a 19-year-old. Sorry, I had to say that. He ended up clearing the course. He got stuck a bit in the beehive, but he was able to save himself. He was able to change directions. The Ferris wheel. He went down, then he went up again. So yeah, he ended up clearing, which is impressive. Rookie, 19 years old, not a bad start to your Ninja Warrior career. I'll save that for later. Taige Richardson. Taige's inclusion in this episode was kind of weird, because it felt like it was like he had his own contained moment, and then was never mentioned again. Because, at least with Thomas, they were like, oh, he might be moving on to Power Tower, and Taige, a lot of these other people, they had teammates or appeared later. But with Najee, it's literally just he was in this segment, he cleared, despite having a scare on the spin bridge and unfortunately missing the mega wall. But like, he was just there and never mentioned again, never seen from again. It was kind of weird. And I believe part of that is just because the whole COVID thing and social distancing and stuff. You're not going to have many people on the sidelines as you used to have. Only your two teammates are going to be together with cheering you on. So, and unfortunately, I believe both of Najee's teammates got fast-forwarded and lost. If I remember correctly. I could be misremembering. Who knows? But it was just weird. It was just like they put him in a segment on his own. But yeah, it was good to see Najee back and better, getting a buzzer. Seems like his head's in the game more. He mentioned last year it just wasn't a good year for him ninja wise. But in my interview that I did with him earlier this year, cheap plug, he mentioned that he was doing a lot better. So that's great to see. I really liked seeing that. Thank you, William. William here, coming to you from my closet for this week's comment question. The comment question is that in honor of Ben Mielik's return to American Ninja Warrior, what past competitor would you like to see come out of retirement and make another shot at American Ninja Warrior glory? Leave me your answers in the comments below. Now, back to William with the finish of the review of Qualifier 3. What I didn't like seeing was Michelle Wonky Burma, new name, and this might be her last season for a while at least because she wants to be a mom, and she failed the second obstacle. She just didn't have the proper momentum on the second lunatic ledge swing, and she couldn't bridge the gap. And she held on. It was like a really sad fail too, because like she had the ledge, and then she slid down, and I was crushed. I audibly yelled, "What?" and all that. And it's just, man, that sucks. It sucks that happened. I wanted so badly to see her do well again this season, but not happening, sadly. And it wasn't good enough to move on. So if this is your last season for a while, Michelle, best of luck to you. Hope you have a new loving family to look forward to. And also what was sad and surprising was Adam Rail. He was going so fast, and then he failed the second drop, which was so bizarre. A second drop of the Ferris wheel. It was surprising. It's like, oh, this rock climber, gymnast, toughest, strong dude failed the obstacle. And it's like, what? Very surprising. The good news is he is moving on, but he needs. I don't know what's up. I really hope that was just a fluke, because Adam Rail, he's someone who can do really well and go really far. And then was Sean Bryan. So they showed his two teammates first, both a pastor and a priest, and they both failed relatively early. And then, holy cow, Sean Bryan, he went low on the Ferris wheel, which was great. And he ended up clearing with overall the second fastest time. But like Sean Bryan, impressive once again with his speed. I feel like, I can't really underestimate him anymore, because like I just expect him to do well. But even then, he still surprises me with how well he does. One interesting thing that he mentioned in his profile is that he actually benefited from COVID, because he wasn't sure if he would be able to compete this year because of his shoulder injury. But because of COVID pushing everything back, it gave him more time, and he was ready by the time they actually filmed A&W 12. Remember, The LA regional, which is almost certainly where he would have competed, was originally supposed to film in March. Literally, right before they were supposed to film, is when California put out the order that of no large gatherings. The course was already built, and that would have been his region almost certainly. And they finished filming the season in June. That's when they filmed the Vegas episode. So this gave him more time than he ever would have had. Over a year of recovery for him at this point. And he just killed it. Just absolutely killed it. Very impressed. And I'm just going to get through a few fast forwards that I wanted to mention. The Power's a Tower. I was sad to see them fast forward, but it was nice to see them. Poor Brandon Mears just failing a balance obstacle yet again. But Dan Polizzi cleared, so that was great to see. One of the Power Towers is moving on. Austin Gray had a very bizarre fast forward in that they spent a lot of... It's almost like they not only do they fast forward his... run, they sped read through his profile piece in fast forward, and basically it was Matt talking about oh, he's looking for a girlfriend. Hey Austin, join the club. Sorry dude, you're not the only one. It was very weird. The Bachelor Ninja. It's I'm pretty sure Grant had the same profile last year with the Stage 2 run. I visibly remember people talking about his profile, talking about getting a profile on some dating app or whatever. And also, I did find it interesting that they showed all three Striding Steps fails together in a group. That was interesting. But it is what it is. Some of the fails were fun. I don't know. Striding Steps, not a lot of people fail it, but sometimes you get an interesting fail on it, I will say. So, there's wow. Yeah, this is one of those episodes, I think, normally I skip around a lot, and there's runs that I just don't mention with the first round stuff, but I feel like because of the more condensed season, there's a lot more meat in this episode to talk about. So I'm basically just talking about at least all the major runs and just kind of going past some of the fast forwards. David Campbell was after Sean Bryan as terms of who was showcased, and this man almost gave me a heart attack. I'll tell you what. He got stuck on the Lunatic Ledges. He just completely lost momentum. I was shocked because the momentum died right away for him. I don't know what happened exactly, but I'm seeing him just struggling, and I'm just on this watching on the screen, on my couch, just oh my God, David, no, please, God, no, please. I've already seen Michelle get heartbroken. Don't do this to me, man. And then, in something that I don't think I've seen yet, don't remember it happening last year, he climbs up to the top of the second panel and does essentially a spider flip style kickoff, and he lands on the landing platform. And that was I let out a very audible yell of excitement, ah, something like that. It was, oh man, that talk about performing under pressure there. And then the rest of the run was just me going, please, for the love of God, you cannot fail after doing that move. So every obstacle, I'm just please don't fail. Please don't fail. Please don't fail. He gets to the spin bridge, and they're oh, he's failed this obstacle before, which is true. He failed it in ANW4 Stage 1. And I'm just please don't fail. Please don't fail. And then he doesn't fail any of those obstacles. He gets to the warped wall. He chooses the mega wall, and he posted on Instagram that he was training for the mega wall right before he went out for filming. And I'm just there. I'm just oh man, come on. This would be a perfect ending to this run if he got the mega wall. And you know what? He got the freaking mega wall. and it was amazing. And not only was it not only did he get the mega wall, he held on to it by like 3 fingers. It's like, oh man, that was so good. That was so good to see. That was a great run. Just the storytelling of the run itself. So, it made me feel good. Thank you, David, for that run. I'm glad to see you get the 10K. Glad to see you moving on, and thank you for the intro. Jessie Graf. I really got to stop doing that. It's not cool. Jessie, she gave me a little scare on the Lunatic Ledges for Jessie Graf's run. Obviously they hyped her up, talked about Wonder Woman and all that, because she's one of the top women now, and I think they're scared to lose her to Hollywood. She decided to go low on the Ferris wheel, do the entirely low path. It's fine. She doesn't want to do the drops. Don't blame her. She actually did a really low dismount on the Ferris wheel too. Apparently, in the trailer, in some sort of trailer or commercial for the season / this episode, they showed Jessie on the top of the warped wall clearing, and it's like, why the would you show that in the preview? Like, seriously, show any other part of the stage. Show, Man and Akbar making reaction shots or something, but literally standing on top of the warped wall? That's lame. But she cleared, and it was great. They mentioned that she ties Jessie Lebrecq for the most buzzers by a woman, which is, it's kind of odd that last week they made such a big deal of Jessie breaking the record, and then it's already been tied by the other Jessie. And I feel like this is something that maybe becomes a storyline this season. I don't know. It is kind of weird that they seemingly made a bigger deal about 5 buzzers for Jessie Lebrecq than Jessie Graf. I guess we'll have to see what happened. And just to further support that statement I just made, if you look on YouTube, Jessie Lebrecq's run is like, Jessie Lebrecq's record-breaking performance, and Jessie Graf's run is like, Jessie Graf entertains at A&W or something like it, puts on a show. Surprised to see Ben Mielek back. Oh, God, Tarzan, it's been 3 years since he's last competed. Sadly, he shed the loincloth, so he's just regular, new farmer Ben Mielek. He ended up failing the Ferris wheel. He got cross-armed making the transfer, got all hung up and stuff. It was to tell the story because the last guy was to run that they showed was R.J. Roman. They showed they showed Ben falling, and they showed Jessica Helmer failing the first obstacle, and those were RJ's 2 teammates, and he wanted to save both of them. And my goodness, I know this is RJ's 3rd season. I know he just took 3rd place in the National Ninja League World Championship, but my goodness, I am still constantly surprised with how fast and how good RJ is. You would never, I think part of it is that you would never think it, because RJ, by his own admission, has no athletic background. He's a rock star. He's a rock star. Yeah, let's call that. He's a rock star. He's a rocker. That's his background, is rock and roll. And yet, he's so fast. He's so good with the upper body stuff. It's like, how does this guy manage to be so good? I don't know, but he was. He ended up getting the fastest time by a pretty good margin too. I think 16 seconds over Sean Bryan. What I read, 16 seconds. Very impressive run. So it came down to the Power Tower, RJ versus Sean Bryan. RJ, he's doing it to save his friends. Sean Bryan, however, he's on a mission from God. He is trying to save literally 2 men of worship, a pastor and a priest, seeing who will move on. Meanwhile, RJ is trying to save a woman who unfortunately slipped up on the first obstacle, and a former man of the jungle. This was a fantastic Power Tower. In fact, I might even go on to say that this might have been the best Power Tower race I've seen so far ever. It was very close. There were some good ones last season, but this one was just so good because it was back and forth. Sean took an early lead in the first section, made it down the fire pole first. But RJ, he gets up the pole climb first. Similar to Jake, he used both poles instead of Sean using one and then transferring over. But then Sean took the advantage on the shelf grab, and I believe I was told that they were no longer to go hand over hand with the shelf grab. They had to do the full lache. So, thing to keep in mind. But, he took the lead in that. And then they were neck and neck, literally almost, they were on the same final shelf at the same time. But RJ chose not to take an extra swing for the dismount like Sean Bryan did. He landed, instantly got it, almost fell. Landed on one foot, essentially. Almost fell backwards. Dove for the bun, just beating Sean to the buzzer. And he saves his two teammates, and that was literally, I don't know if you can ask for a better Power Tower race than that. That might even be better than the 7 that we're going to get at the end of the season. Who knows? But that was fantastic. I loved that so much. Good on you, RJ. By the way, just want to point out that whatchamacallit. So last week I asked, if there was any real benefit to clearing, winning the Power Tower, other than saving your teammates, other than, being a nice guy. And there is an extra prize that wasn't advertised, is that A&W, if you win the Power Tower, A&W will donate $5,000 to the charity of your choice, which is nice. And unfortunately, it doesn't give you any sort of extra advantage in the game or even like a cash prize for yourself. But $5,000 for charity, that's a good, it's a nice prize, nice thing for them to do. They didn't have to do it. They could have just said, hey, you're saving your teammates, prove you're a nice guy. In the spirit of competition and all that. But no, the extra 5K is nice. This was honestly, this was a really good episode. Some weird editing quirks, but overall, very little complaints other than just the bizarreness of the Lunatic Ledges taking so many people out. Let's go through the full rundown of the obstacles by the numbers. So 3 people failed the shrinking steps, 14 people failed the Lunatic Ledges, and 3 people failed the beehive, 3 people failed the spinning bridge, 7 failed the Ferris wheels, and no one failed the warped wall. We had 9 completions, and one of those completions was a mega wall clear. And your people moving on to the semifinals is RJ Roman, Sean Bryan, Thomas Stillings, Austin Gray, Taige Harrison, Dan Polizzi, Najee Richardson, David Campbell, Jessie Graf, who all cleared. And then you have Adam Rail, Devin Harrelson, and oh my god, Devin Harrison did move on. For some reason, why did I think Devin Harrison didn't move on? I am so dumb. I apologize, Mr. Dougie Fresh. You did move on. And Lauren Ball, who barely moved on by clearing the Ferris wheel. I didn't really mention him in my review. Unfortunately, they didn't give him a lot of time. Sorry, Lauren. But hopefully you get featured next episode. Glad to see you move on either way. The 2 remaining women to fill out the top 3 was Zanique Lovett, who failed the spring bridge, and Rachel Goldstein, who failed the beehive. And the 2 benefactors of the Power Tower were Jessica Helmer and Ben Mielek. So, that is everything for me. Thank you all very much for watching. Make sure you subscribe to see more videos just like this. And if you haven't, check out last week's episode of American Ninja Warrior, my review of it. It was great. I like to think it is. But until next time, I'll see you later.